3D Film Festival?
It was all rather sudden, actually, because I wasn't aware that there was a 3D Film Festival until last week when they called and said they were running the Hole, and would I please come down and talk about it. So I'm here.
Okay, and tell us about The Hole.
Well, The Hole is a 3D movie I made almost 2 years ago, and it's sort of a retro 80s family horror picture that I more or less talked the producers into making in 3D. And it's real 3D, not fake 3D. It's not a fake movie that was shot normally and then sent into a computer and then came out as 3D. This is a real 3D movie. And unfortunately, we didn't quite anticipate the onslaught of fake 3D movies that were going to be coming out, in which we're obviously in competition. But we did win an award in the Venice Film Festival for the best 3D movie, and over some Pixar movies, no less. And so I think that we did make an attempt to use the medium, artistically, and not just throw things at people and be real.
Mm-hmm. And switching gears a little, when you were starting out in your career, what were some of the hurdles that you faced professionally, and how did you overcome them as a director?
This is a long show.
It could be the Reader's Digest version. It could be...
The Reader's Digest version is in such a different world than it is now. That kids are always asking me, how did you start in the business? And I mean, I can give them the answers, but they are completely irrelevant because the business has completely changed. The people that I worked for made a certain kind of movie for a certain kind of audience that no longer exists, for a distribution system that doesn't exist. And I was lucky enough to get into the ground floor right around the time that B-movies were being made with more money and had become A-movies. And when the advent of Jaws and Star Wars, which were essentially the kind of movies that had been not taken very seriously in previous years, all of a sudden were gigantic hits, and lots of money was lavished on sequels and imitations. All of a sudden B-movies became A-pictures, and I was the beneficiary of that.
Mm-hmm. And how was it working with Roger Corman? I know he's very efficient on the set.
Well, Roger, had a distribution operation that was very, very frugal and lean, and one of the tenets of it was to hire people who he could get to work for less money than anyone else because they didn't know anything. And we all approached our jobs at Roger Corman's as if this was the only movie we were ever going to get to make, and we were lucky to get to make this one. And so all the tricks and terms that we learned in order to stretch a dollar and try to get 40 setups a day they're all valuable lessons. And if you look at the roster of people who went through the Roger Corman School, as we call it, it's a tremendous amount of people who went on to have big careers.
And lastly, what hurdles are you facing now as a director?
Well, it's just such a different world. Movies are now very expensive or very cheap. The middle ground movie has more or less disappeared, and there's a lot of people who want a job and not that many jobs to have. So keeping your head above water and just staying in the business becomes a major concern. It's a very difficult environment right now for filmmakers because of there's many less films made, and there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of pressure to make and homogenize a big studio movie into something that everyone will love. And very seldom does that work. Most of the time you just end up with something that's homogenized and bland. And the edgy kind of movies that I grew up with in the 70s are very difficult to get somebody to finance these days.